统连接成功。
1号3，王浩你们来。上台，坐在那儿。Good morning, everyone. These seats are favorable positions because in the end, you will see they are highly rewarding. If you escape them, then who knows, okay? Today we are going to talk about the third chapter, the World Trade Organization, as you can see it. But prior to that, as usual, we will first recall or review what we've learned last week. Here, young lady, hi. Here, there's a position here. Thank you. Now I've got several questions for your recording. First question is, what is the principal source of WTO law? What is the principal source of WTO law? Section 2, right? Section 2, Chapter 2 deals with the principal source of WTO law. What's the principal source of WTO law? What is that? You know?
Marrakesh Agreement establishing the World Trade Organization.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. The next question. How many categories of other sources of WTO law? How many categories of other sources of WTO law are there? We only talked about 4 of them, but actually there are 9 categories of them, right? Good. Then the most important question is, what's the difference between the principal source and other sources of WTO law? What's the difference between the principal source of WTO law and other sources of WTO law? You need to at least jot down these questions, because all the questions I raised at the very beginning of each period of each week's class are all those important ones that will appear in the final exam. Okay? What's the difference? That's for your thinking. Okay? Next question. Which countries like to incorporate protection of IPRs into the WTO agreement more? The developed ones or the developing ones? You know that? Okay. Okay, next question. What is arguably the single most important achievement of the Uruguay round negotiations? What is arguably the single most achievement of the Uruguay round negotiations? 秦丽珊.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. It's okay. The single most important, or the single most important achievement of the Uruguay round negotiations is the dispute settlement understanding, or DSU, that is DSM. Okay. Next question. What does covered agreement mean? What does covered agreement mean? True or false question, or yes or no question? Are covered agreements the specific agreements under GATT 1994? The specific agreements. Can we say the covered agreements are those specific agreements under GATT 1994? No, right? Good, no. Then what does covered agreements mean? The WTO agreements covered by the DSU in Appendix 1 to DSU? That's the answer. Okay. To put it another way, covered agreements means the WTO agreements that can be subject to WTO dispute settlement. Okay, next question. What's the function of the TPRM? What's the function of TPRM? This is the Annex 3 to the WTO agreement. Annex 3. Then what's the function of this TPRM? Okay. Next question. Can WTO members discriminate in favor of domestic products, services, or service suppliers? Yes or no? Okay, I will repeat the question again. Can WTO members discriminate against or discriminate in favor of the domestic products, services, or service suppliers?
No. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
In favor of domestic products. In the context of government procurement. Government procurement. Government procurement means the government would like to buy something, no matter its products, services, or service suppliers. And the domestic governments, can the domestic governments discriminate against those foreign products? Government procurement.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Good. Very good. Why? Well, because it's a special field, right? It's for the interest of the governments. Government procurement. It's not like those economic activities conducted by the private parties. That's different. Then, one last question. We left off during last week is that among other non-tariff barriers, which one definitely stands out? I mean, the biggest tariff barriers among non-tariff barriers. Other. Which is the first one that stands out in other non-tariff barriers? Let's turn to page 20. Turn to the PPT, page 20. You will find the answer. Okay? Can anybody have a go, have a try? Okay, let's move to some other easy questions. How many categories are there in terms of barriers? How many categories of barriers, trade barriers are there? Good, very good. Two, it's two. The first one is
那个非喂，嘿，
I know you found the correct answer, right?
应该是 non-tariff barrier 和 tariff barrier。
Exactly, very good. Non-tariff barriers and tariff barriers. Good. And what are included in barriers? In tariff barriers? Two. There are two. Repeat it.
Custom duties and other duties.
Good, very good. Customs duties and other duties and financial charges. That's it. Then, next question. How many in total are included in this? Yes. Who's that it? 7, right? Good. Very good, Liu Huimin. Good. Then, my next question would be, which one is the first? Stands out in those 7? Exactly. Very good. The transparency of trade regulations, right? Which means if you want to do business with businessmen in foreign countries, you want to do international trade. First thing you need to know is the regulations, the laws of the specific foreign country. Right? Then you can predict how much you're gonna pay the tariffs. Right? If you don't know, you have no idea the laws and regulations of foreign countries, the environment will become unpredictable. And the costs of doing business will be raised. Okay, good. Stands out. What does stands out mean? Stands out. Exactly, very good. Stand out as the first important type. Okay. Then we can, in English learning, we have something called word composition. You can always put out first in it. Let it become outstanding. What does outstanding mean? It's a word composition. Yes, stand out. And then outstanding. That means very excellent, right? Outstanding is very excellent. Good. Talking of stand out, this phrase, I'm reminded of a story, a funny story. Would you like to hear it?
Yes.
Yes, now. Open your ears and try to guide and try to get the point, the funny point of the story. Okay. One day, a man is driving down a country road when he spots a farmer standing in the middle of a huge grass a huge field of grass. The man pulls his car over to the side of the road and notices that the farmer is just standing there, doing nothing, looking at nothing. The man walks out of his car, gets out of his car, and walks out all the way to the farmer and asks him, excuse me, mister, but what are you doing here? The farmer replies, well, I'm trying to win a Nobel Prize. The man asks him, puzzled, how? The farmer replies, well, I heard they grant the Nobel Prize to people who are outstanding in their field. Did you get the funny point? Okay, it's a funny story. The point is, the farmer is standing out in the field of a huge grass, a huge field of grass, right? Then I'm outstanding in my field, so I'm trying to win a Nobel Prize. You know why? Because they grant the Nobel Prize to people who are outstanding in their field. Then my question would be, are you outstanding in your field?
No.
Do you like to be outstanding in your field?
No.
Well, what is your field? The international economic law is your field. So you need to stand out in your field. You need to be outstanding in your field. That's the essence to win a Nobel Prize. Okay, good. Okay, now let's come back to the third chapter. Okay, good. Okay, this first page, I think it's a little bit difficult for you to understand. I don't know whether you've previewed the content. You know, for this chapter, we've got only 2 weeks, okay? We've got only 2 weeks for this chapter. What you need to know is, originally, the World Trade Organization is not like that. Originally, all the states like to establish an organization like this. International Trade Organization. International Trade Organization. What's the difference between International Trade Organization and World Trade Organization? 2 different words, 2 different meanings. While this organization seems more like a super government. The sovereignty of the members may be threatened. While if it's World Trade Organization, then the countries will enjoy more freedom. Their sovereignties will not be threatened or damaged. Okay. For this part, you only need to know that. And this one, Uruguay round of multilateral trade negotiations. We know that since the establishment of GATT, 1947, there have been 8 rounds of trade negotiations. 8 rounds. 8 rounds of trade negotiations. And the 8th of the trade negotiation is called Uruguay round. Uruguay round negotiations is the 8th, which happens in 1994. During that round of negotiation, the WTO was decided to be established. Uruguay round. And that's why I asked you, what's arguably the single most achievement, the single most important achievement of this Uruguay round negotiations? Which, yes, the establishment of WTO, right? Then, what's the single most important achievement for the WTO agreement? Which part? You know, in GATT 1947, actually there's no dispute settlement mechanism. No. Although there are agreements specifying rights and obligations, but they're not enforceable. Why? Well, because there is no dispute settlement mechanism. So, what's the single most important achievement of the 8th Uruguay round negotiations? Which?
DSM.
Yes, DSM is the single most important achievement of the Uruguay round negotiations. DSM, always say DSU. That's the 8th. What about current situation? The current situation, I mean the trade negotiations, it's the 9th, right? The 9th. The 9th round of trade negotiations. It's called what? There's a name. It's called, you've heard of that? Doha round negotiations, which was initiated in 2001. Do you have any memory of that Doha round? And exactly during this round of negotiation, China entered the WTO, right? The Doha round, 2001, right? China's accession to the WTO was decided during this negotiation in 2001. Okay. But right now, it's not finished yet. It's still pending. It's still under the process, still going. Why? Because there are no satisfactory achievements or agreements concluded. That's why it's still on its way. Doha round negotiations. Okay. As you can see, a threat to national sovereignty. Threat to national sovereignty. Okay, good. Next part, we will go to the mandate of the WTO. Mandate means functions. Yes. Or namely the objectives of the WTO and the functions of the WTO. Mandate means objectives and functions of the WTO. Let's first talk about the objectives of the WTO. I think we've mentioned this in the general course. You still remember? How many are there? I remember I called someone to read this part for us at that time. Okay. What is the direct objective of the WTO? Direct objective. The direct objective of the WTO is, you still remember, we are trying to realize trade liberalization, right? So the direct objective of the WTO is to fulfill or to obtain freer trade. That's the direct objective. Why we established WTO? We would like to pursue freer trade. We would like to fulfill trade liberalization, right? That is the direct objective. Then what are the ultimate objectives? The four we mentioned here. Here, the four objectives are the ultimate objectives. They are more close to our daily life. For example, the first one, the increase of standards of living, right? And the growth of real income and effective demand. And the last one would be what? A high rate of employment. I know right now you are under huge pressure, right? Because the graduation date is approaching. It's just around the corner. In 1 year and a half, you will face fierce competition in the job market. So right now, currently, you are busy preparing the postgraduate entrance exam or the China's bar exam. China's bar exam. In China, we don't have this kind of thing. We call it qualification exam for legal profession, something like that. That's something you need to do. That's a good thing. But I strongly recommend you come here to this class and improve your English. Because when you are attending the interviews, a self-introduction is necessary. no matter it's for a job or for the postgraduate entrance exam, there will be interviews in English. You need to prepare a self-introduction within 2 or 3 minutes to introduce yourself, to show your advantages, your strong points to the interviewer. And you need to be able to communicate with others freely and fluently with your employer. Okay. All those questions I raised at the very beginning of this period, it seems seldom of you know what I'm talking about. Okay, only a few of you are still with me. Okay, don't worry. And let's move on with our content. Is this useful? Is it of any practical significance to your job hunting, to your postgraduate entrance exam? Maybe. Language means what? Language means information. Information means money.
Yes.
Almost 80% of the world's knowledge is generated and stored in English. 80% of human knowledge. And that's why you need to learn English well. For the record, I personally have never been abroad for a single day. I'm a homegrown doctor of international law. I've never been abroad, even Hong Kong, Macau, never been there. I learned English all by myself, with the help or assistance of the online sources, online materials.
Sounds good.
How to learn English well? There's no shortcut to that. You need to learn it word by word, sentence by sentence, paragraphs by paragraphs. Later, I will send the funny story into our WeChat group. What you need to do is recite it and retell the story for yourself. That's how you improve your English. You know how many paragraphs and stories I recited? No. Of course you don't know. Even I don't know. But I'm telling you, it's important. And that's why I'm here teaching you this WTO course in English. It's necessary. Then let's move on to look at the functions of the WTO. As you can see, there are 6 functions of WTO, and we will deal with each of these. Okay, the first one is facilitate the implementation of the WTO agreements. how to implement the WTO agreements, there will always be trade disputes in the WTO, right? Then the WTO dispute settlement mechanism is just implementing the WTO law. Through this mechanism, we implement the WTO agreements. All those I introduced the principal source. Okay, the second one is negotiations on new trade rules, like this one, Doha round negotiations. They are negotiating new trade rules. Like in our domestic legal system, we always need to amend or modify or revise our internal laws, right? To adapt to the changes, to meet the new demands. Doha round is this. Doha round is one of the trade negotiations on new trade rules. Okay. And as I mentioned just now, we need new rules to adapt to the new changes, the new environment. Because the world is still changing, right? We need to update the new trade rules to adapt to the changes. And currently, the most important issue in the WTO field is here. More pressing problems faced by the multilateral trading system today, such as e-commerce. Yes, export restrictions, for example, trade bans. The article I sent in English, I published in English, trade bans. Have any idea? On rare earths. Rare earths. Okay. And what else? Trade-related energy and investment issues. Trade-related energy and investment issues. Energy. You know what? Europe, Ukraine is now facing a war. And the next step would be EU, Europe. You know what? And the EU itself is still buying oil, petroleum from Russia. And trade-related issues, investment issues, trade-related investment issues. That's important. We'll come back in 5 minutes.